The fluorescent lights inside a Detroit Sunoco made everything look ordinary. A clerk stood behind protective glass. Customers came and went. Cigarettes were being bought. Traffic moved outside. Nothing in the store looked like a rescue scene. Then a teenage girl walked to the counter beside a man police say had abducted her at gunpoint. She did not scream. She did not run. She did not cause a scene. She did something much smaller and much braver. When the man told her to pay for cigarettes, she looked at the clerk and silently mouthed one word: help. For a moment, everything depended on whether one stranger behind a counter understood what he had just seen. Because hours earlier, police say that same teenager had been taken from a school bus stop in broad daylight. Now she was standing inside a gas station trying to save her own life one whispered word at a time, and the clerk was about to decide whether he would step in. Just hours earlier, the day had begun like hundreds of other school mornings. Students waited at a bus stop, backpacks at their feet, phones in their hands, conversations half finished before first period. Nothing about the scene suggested violence. Nothing suggested a nightmare was seconds away. Then, according to investigators, a man later identified as Donald Fields pulled up, produced a gun, and forced a 16-year-old girl into his van. In broad daylight, in front of witnesses, a routine school morning shattered in an instant, but something extraordinary happened almost as quickly. Someone saw. Another student recognized something was terribly wrong and called 911. While officers began responding, classmates were doing something few people would expect in a moment of panic, using their phones and social media to help track where the missing girl had gone. Inside a school hallway, fear was turning into action. Students were trying to help find her. Police were racing against time. And inside the van, investigators say the danger was escalating. But across the city, all of those moving pieces, witnesses, students, officers, were converging on one place, a Sunoco station, where a frightened teenager would walk to a counter and mouth one word: help. While officers were responding to the kidnapping call, something remarkable was already unfolding among the students left behind. Panic could have taken over. Confusion could have frozen everyone in place. But instead, students started trying to help. Phones came out. Messages moved fast. According to police, classmates began using a social media location app to help track where the missing girl had gone. Think about that for a moment. Teenagers who had just witnessed an armed abduction were now helping police search for their missing classmate. Inside the school, fear was turning into focus. Some were relaying information. Some were trying to follow her movement. Everyone understood one terrible truth: time mattered. And then came a breakthrough. The location they were tracking appeared to point toward a gas station across the city line in Detroit. A Sunoco. Suddenly, this was no longer just a desperate search. There was a destination. Police had somewhere to go. And while officers moved toward that location, the teenager who had been taken was already inside the store, standing at a counter, waiting to see whether anyone would recognize she needed saving. The rescue was beginning to form, before anyone at the gas station fully realized it. Inside the Sunoco, none of the customers knew they were standing in the middle of a rescue. To most people inside, it looked ordinary. A man buying cigarettes, a teenager beside him, another transaction at the counter, nothing more. But the clerk saw something others did not: fear. When the girl looked at him and silently mouthed, "Help," he understood. And in that instant, he had a choice: do nothing, or step into danger. He stepped out from behind the protective glass, and everything changed. According to reports, when the suspect told the girl to pay for the cigarettes, the clerk became immediately suspicious. "There's something wrong," he later recalled thinking. Then he did something few people would have the courage to do. He placed himself between the suspect and the girl. He told her to get behind him. In one movement, a convenience store clerk became a shield. For the first time since the abduction began, the suspect was losing control. And he knew it. What had looked like an ordinary stop for cigarettes was unraveling. Fast. The suspect moved toward the door. The clerk followed. And outside, police were arriving. The rescue that had been building through witnesses, classmates, and a silent plea for help, was about to collide with the man accused of causing it all, and the body camera footage would capture what happened next. Outside the Sunoco, the suspect headed back toward the van. The same van police say had been used to take a 16-year-old girl from a bus stop in broad daylight, but now the scene was changing quickly. The clerk followed him outside. Police were pulling in, and when officers arrived, the clerk pointed toward the man and identified him. That was the guy. In seconds, the search, the tracking, the 911 call, the silent plea, and the clerk's decision to step out from behind the glass all came together. Officers moved in. The suspect was taken into custody. Police later recovered the van and a handgun connected to the case. And inside the gas station, the teenager who had spent the day trying to survive was no longer alone. The danger had not started at the Sunoco. But that is where it ended. Because a student called for help, classmates kept looking, a clerk paid attention, and police arrived before the suspect could disappear again. What began as an ordinary school morning had become a rescue built by ordinary people who refused to ignore what was happening. And because of that chain of decisions, a 16-year-old girl made it out alive. Not every abduction ends inside a gas station with police arriving in time. Not every victim gets a second chance to ask for help. And not every silent plea is answered. That is what makes this case so haunting. And so remarkable. Because this rescue was not built on one heroic act. It was built on a chain. A student saw something wrong and called 911. Classmates refused to sit helplessly and help track where their friend had gone. A clerk trusted what he saw and stepped into danger. Police moved before the suspect could vanish again. And through all of it, a terrified 16-year-old kept enough presence of mind to save herself with a single word. Help. That word did not save her alone. People did. People who paid attention. People who acted. People who refused to look away. And maybe that is what stays with you after the story ends. How thin the line can be between tragedy and rescue. How close this came to becoming something much darker. And how, on one ordinary day, a chain of strangers held that line. Inside a fluorescent-lit Sunoco station, a teenager asked for help without making a sound. And this time, someone heard her. We have also requested public records and any releasable body camera footage connected to this case. If additional evidence or footage is released, we may return with a CaseBlotter update.